Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I will analyze the case of Emmanuel Haro. First I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the incident, then offer my analysis. Emmanuel Haro was born in early 2025 and lived in Cabazon, California. This is 89 miles east of Los Angeles. He lived with his parents, Rebecca Haro and Jake Mitchell Haro, in a house on Ramona Street, just 210 feet away from Interstate 10. Emmanuel's mother, Rebecca, is the sister of a killer named James Bushausen. On March 15, 2017, James shot his girlfriend, Jalen Amanda Keith, in the forehead and pretended that she must have done it to herself. This happened in an apartment they shared. Ultimately, James was convicted of murder and sentenced to 50 years to life in prison. Emmanuel's father, Jake, is a convicted felon. Jake used to be married to another woman named Vanessa Aniva. On October 13, 2018, their 10-week-old daughter was admitted to Hemet Valley Hospital. She had a fractured rib, fractured skull, brain hemorrhage, and swelling in her neck. In addition, she had 6 ribs and a leg bone with healing fractures. Jake blamed his wife Vanessa for harming their child. About 3 years later, on October 5, 2021, they were both arrested and charged with willful child cruelty. They pleaded guilty on June 8, 2023. Jake received 180 days in a work release program, while Vanessa received 120 days in that same program. Jake Haro learned his lesson and turned his life around. One thing was for certain: he would never be arrested again. In July 2024, Jake was arrested again and charged with felon in possession of a firearm and felon in possession of ammunition. He is scheduled to appear in court on September 2, 2025. Now moving to the timeline of the incident. On Thursday, August 14, 2025, at 7:47 p.m., Emmanuel's mother, Rebecca, called 911 and reported that somebody had taken 7-month-old Emmanuel. Here is what Rebecca told investigators. The Haro family was in Yucaipa for a child's football practice. The child was Rebecca's stepson. Yucaipa is 22 miles northwest of Cabazon, where the Haro family house is located. While at the football practice, Rebecca went to the Big 5 sporting goods store in Yucaipa to buy a mouthguard for her stepson. She smelled an unpleasant odor and realized that Emmanuel's diaper needed to be changed. She decided to do this outside of her pickup truck in the store parking lot. As she was changing Emmanuel's diaper, a stranger said the word "hola," which is Spanish for hello. Before Rebecca could even turn around and look at the man, he knocked her unconscious. Rebecca said, quote, "I don't remember anything since. I woke up here on the floor, and I didn't see Emmanuel," unquote. When Rebecca uses the word floor, I believe she means the pavement next to her vehicle in the parking lot. As a result of this mysterious attack, Rebecca had a black eye. The police launched an investigation into the alleged kidnapping. They searched the area around the store, but they did not find any sign of Emmanuel. On the next day, Friday, August 15, Rebecca made a plea to the public while talking to the media, saying, quote, "If you know anything, please come forward or take him to the cops. Please come and bring my son back. I'm begging you," unquote. Her husband, Jake Haro, also made a statement. He said, quote, "Whoever took my son, please return him. We just want him back. We won't do anything to you. Just give us our son. Keep him safe, don't hurt him, and make sure you feed him and change him," unquote. On Saturday, August 16, the authorities said that they confronted Rebecca with inconsistencies in her story. At this point, Rebecca stopped cooperating. She declined to answer any other questions. Investigators said they were unable to rule out foul play in Emmanuel's disappearance. On the same day, according to an attorney for Jake Haro, Jake told investigators that Emmanuel may have been spotted at a gas station in Bakersfield. It does not appear as though anything came of that tip because the police in Bakersfield said they had not received a request to search for Emmanuel. On Sunday, August 17, the police searched the Haro family home. 2 days later, on Tuesday, August 19, they seized Jake's car. Rebecca and Jake surrendered their phones, 2 iPads, and 3 Xbox game consoles to the police. On the same day, at 6 p.m., an abandoned house on Ramona Street in Cabazon caught on fire. This house is 900 feet east of the Haro family house. Several people were seen leaving the property as the fire started. The police said there is no connection between this fire and the disappearance of Emmanuel Haro. At some point during the investigation into what happened to Emmanuel, Riverside County Child Protective Services removed Jake's 2-year-old child from the Haro family house. At the time I'm making this video, the investigation into Emmanuel's disappearance continues. It appears as though the police know more than they have revealed. Now moving to my analysis. It is not surprising that many people suspect Jake and Rebecca Haro had something to do with Emmanuel's disappearance. Jake's attorney has offered his opinion that the couple had nothing to do with the disappearance and has insisted that the Haro family is still cooperating with investigators. There are really only two theories here. Theory number one is that a mysterious man kidnapped Emmanuel, just like Rebecca said. Theory number two is that Jake and Rebecca caused Emmanuel to go missing. They murdered him, disposed of his body, and fabricated a story to escape responsibility. Another version of this theory is that only one of them killed Emmanuel. If Jake did it, then Rebecca made up the kidnapping to cover for her husband. If Rebecca did it, then Jake could be completely innocent because he's not the one who offered the story about the abduction. Maybe he's a victim too. If one theory is true, then the other theory is false. With this in mind, let's take a look at the evidence, both for and against the idea that theory number one is true. Emmanuel was abducted. I will start with the factors that support this theory. Rebecca told investigators that while she was in the store parking lot tending to a diaper change situation, a strange man took Emmanuel. That's pretty much it for the factors supporting this theory. Now moving to the factors that contradict the theory that Emmanuel was abducted. Rebecca's story about a mysterious perpetrator kidnapping Emmanuel is difficult to believe. Based on this story, there is this male perpetrator who just happens to be in the store parking lot at the same time as Rebecca. She is focused on changing a diaper. Interestingly, she chooses to do this outside her pickup truck, not in the truck, not in a restroom in a nearby business, but in plain view of people walking around. Rebecca was extremely focused on the task at hand, so much so that a man nearby thought to himself, this would be a great time to perpetrate a kidnapping. I had other plans today, but it's important to be flexible. The man has this tremendous advantage over Rebecca because she is not expecting the kidnapping. He sneaks up behind her. She doesn't hear a thing. But for some reason, the perpetrator gives away his tactical advantage by saying, "Hola." I guess he was thinking, well, I may be perpetrating a kidnapping and everything, but not providing a greeting is simply uncalled for. There's no sense in being rude. It's also possible that saying hola was part of a brand-building effort. He wanted to be known as the cryptic Spanish greeting kidnapper, or maybe the Hola Bandit. This perpetrator may have been inspired by the Wet Bandits from the movie Home Alone. After alerting Rebecca to his presence, unnecessarily, he knocks her out instantly. In this process, he gives her a black eye, which suggests that she was facing him, but Rebecca did not see him, according to her story. With Rebecca now unconscious, the perpetrator took Emmanuel and disappeared without a trace. According to the police, there were inconsistencies in Rebecca's story, although they never specified what those inconsistencies were. Jake Haro has a criminal history that involves causing harm to an infant. This happened just 7 years before Emmanuel disappeared. The damage he caused to his daughter was heinous. It was a very serious crime. About a year before Emmanuel's disappearance, Jake was allegedly caught with a firearm, even though he was a felon and not allowed to possess a firearm. This is consistent with a person who does not want to follow the rules. When considering all the evidence available in this case so far, do I believe that theory number one, Emmanuel was abducted, is true? In my opinion, no. I believe that theory number two is a better fit to the evidence. The most probable explanation is that Jake and/or Rebecca caused Emmanuel to disappear. Again, this is just a theory. I don't know what happened. Hopefully the authorities will get to the bottom of this mystery very soon. Now moving to my final thoughts. One thing I found interesting with this case is how Rebecca and Jake spoke to the media right after Emmanuel went missing. Typically, when a couple appeals to the public for the return of a loved one, Their emotional display is uneven. One parent may break down in tears, while the other one remains composed enough to talk. When Rebecca and Jake made their plea for Emmanuel's safe return, they appeared to be crying in unison. It was like synchronized sorrow. It's not clear if they were really crying or pretending to cry, but it seemed forced either way. There's this sense they were acting in a way they thought grief was supposed to look like. They were laying it on a bit thick. It was mechanical. They wanted people to believe they were upset that Emmanuel was missing. This is not really evidence that can be used to promote one theory over another, but it is curious. The couple would have been better off not making any statement. I doubt there have been too many missing children returned specifically because parents appeal to the public. Like there are people out there who say to themselves, well, I have some information about this missing child. I was going to keep it to myself, but then I saw those parents crying on TV and I was like, all right, give me the phone. Time to call this in. If Rebecca and Jake end up being implicated in the disappearance of their son, Emmanuel, every second they spent in front of a camera will be used against them in a court of law. Those are my thoughts on the case of Emmanuel Haro. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.